So I just got back home from Skirmish Season 15. I played my final Skirmish of the season, where I went 8-0, completely undefeated on Nebula Blade Briar. This deck is absolutely awesome, and I'm super excited to show you guys what I cooked up. So this was the second Skirmish I played on Briar. The first Skirmish, I played the standard redline aggro Briar list. I ended up getting 4th place. I got the Arcane Polarity. I think it's my most fraudulent top of all time, though. My wins were absurd high rolls, and my losses were, for the most part, my opponents making game-ending blunders. And that happens sometimes, right? That's card games. But I didn't feel great about the run. After talking with the winner of the first RTN, Will, who played Icelander, check out his deck tech here on the channel, I kind of realized that there's probably a solid spot for a mid-range deck in the format. I think I'd have a little bit more fun playing that. So I'd already got my polarity. I figured I could show up, and if the mid-range deck was bad and I busted out, that was fine. Turns out, though, Nebula Blade is a pretty good card, carried me to an 8-0 finish. Yeah, mid-range is just really, really solid in this format right now. A lot of the decks are trying to just speed racer their way to victory. No one's blocking out on hits, especially the extra value you get from something like a Nebula Blade. All of the wizards were capable of running AB3 in this and then sending back still consistently strong hands. So they all also kind of struggled into us, and that's kind of what I ran all day, was aggro and wizards. I don't know what it would look like if I ended up playing some of the more grindy long game decks. I have a plan for that, and we'll see that here shortly. But I didn't really get a chance to execute it. I suspect we're probably okay, as it is the same plan that aggro Briar is currently running to some amount of success. I think a list one was at a Battle Hardened just a couple days ago, doing kind of the same idea I have. And like I said, we'll talk to that when we get into the sideboard. But all in all, the deck was fantastic. Let me show you what it's all about. So obviously we're a Nebula Blade deck. Our goal is to basically swing this card every single turn. We're going to block with 2 cards and then play a non-attack action, swing Nebula Blade for hopefully 7 with the on-hit of making a Rune Chant. If you're familiar with Flesh and Blood math, that gives us a 2-card 8, assuming they don't block out. 2-card 8s are above rate, especially when they're coming in as split damage, getting that Rune Chant. A lot of decks in this format do not block well, so we were swinging a 2-card 8 pretty much all day. For our armor set, I'm on 1 Garland of Spring and then a whole bunch of Blade Vector in the main board. Into a lot of decks, this just says I have a fridge of 6, and then the Garland is for the turns they inevitably give us a 4-card hand. We do struggle to convert off of just our regular blues. We have a lot of 1-cost non-attacks, so this lets us go double 1-cost non-attack into sword when they ask us to actually send something back. So first part of this deck I want to talk about are the non-attack actions. That is how we're going to be triggering our Nebula Blade's text. And we are on quite a few of them. For our 0-cost non-attacks, we're on Arcane Seed's Life and Sprout Strength. Notably, we are playing no Burn-Up Shock. We don't have a Lightning Press to push it over, as Lightning Press won't pump our sword. These are we're guaranteed the 3 value out of them when we play them. Having these be 0s is what lets us eventually trigger Briar's other text to get us the embodiments of lightning, which are actually pretty important in this deck. We're not without attack actions, and being able to trigger an embodiment of lightning off of playing the 0s in one of our 1-costs lets us set up for an eventual attack action that comes down the line. Swinging the sword does not crack the embodiment of lightning, so we just get to camp on this until we find a pop-off turn and go crazy. We are playing literally a boatload of 1-cost pump 3 non-attack actions. These are our suite that we are playing. Condemned to Slaughter, the actual text on it really doesn't ever come up. I guess if we're in a Rune Blade mirror, you could pop their Rune Chant to maybe survive or something. I don't know, I never used it. Electron Jolt Step, it being lightning and blocking 3 is why we're playing it. We do have some cards that care about us having lightning, so being able to reveal this to a fuse is kind of important. The Lightning Flow we don't ever actually use. All we care about is that this blocks 3, is lightning, and it pumps our sword every turn that we play it. All of the elixirs as well have a whole bunch of text that does not come up. If you end up encountering an Arachne or an Azalea, I did play 1 Azalea today. Sometimes you can line this up to make these 1-for-4s, but that's not the main goal. You mostly care that they block 3, and they pump Nebula Blade for an additional 3, so we can get to that magical 2-card 8 kind of game state. Let's talk about attack actions. I'm not playing a lot of these, but the 6 that I am playing are very specifically chosen, as I think they all kind of have a intended purpose in the deck. Lightning Surge and Entwine Lightning both get go again on their own. When we need to make a pivot to trying to kill our opponents or have a kind of pop-off turn to pull a lead, these are the cards that are enabling us to do that. Them and having like inherent go again makes it really easy to be able to like arsenal this and then send it, pump the Nebula Blade, send that for 7. It creates some awkward breakpoints, both with on hits. If these hit, they are going to create an embodiment of Earth. And as you may have noticed, basically our entire deck is these non-attack actions. So really sometimes what I can do is even like block out, keep a 1-card hand and send one of these back. On hit, it says my entire hand blocks for 4 next turn, which is just like crazy, crazy numbers. So we chose Lightning Surge because we can arsenal it, just give it go again. Entwine, we play enough lightning cards in the deck that you can sometimes just reveal and send this for go again on its own. Rush of Power is our only one without inherent go again. We do need to make the embodiment of lightning to get it to that state. But big thing to note is it blocks 3. And we're doing a lot of blocking in this deck. Block 2, send 2 is really our strat. And if we do have to send it as a 1-card hand, it is still on hit like a 0 for 4 because it'll do the additional arcane damage. It's a little easier to block out, but a lot of these aggro decks really only have 2 blocks. They can't cover this up very effectively, and sometimes you'll get a piece of armor or something out of it. So this card's like crazy good. Being able to block 3 and just force cards out of our opponent's hand is really, really cool. Let's go ahead and get these out of the way here. Let's talk about the secret sauce that I think really holds this entire deck together, and that are these 2 copies of Cloud Cover. This card is a D-React that we can play into every single matchup in the format. It is good into the aggro decks as it's surprise block 3. Dominate, we're not blocking, so we get another additional card from hand we can play to cover up some damage. Biggest thing though is versus Wizards, I don't have another random D-React. I need to find a way to board out because I just have this. Like this is a D-React I get to play into like Blaze and Acilio. It came up a lot today where I was just able to like fade their whole turn and then send back a like 0 for 4 into the 7, steal their whole hand because now they're low on life because they took hits earlier. This card is insane. I think if you're on the like Cheerios aggro Briar, I think you actually just play this straight up over Arcane Polarity as this is always live. But because we're on like a more mid-rangey plan, we just play this in the main board and into absolutely everything. This card's like kind of MVP. I think it's the reason I'm able to get away with pivoting between the Arcane decks and the like physical aggro decks. I think that's probably where a couple other mid-range decks might struggle, but this card just glues us all together. Super happy with this. It's like, it might be MVP. Our blues are pretty simple. We're playing a bunch of non-attack actions that block 3. This is so that they can get pumped up by the embodiments of Earth that we're going to be making. But just blue block 3s that are non-attacks, pretty cool. We have a couple that are lightning, so we can reveal them to Entwine to get that go again. For our attack actions in our blue suite, we do have to play a few because I just needed to hit a density of block 3s. 2 copies of Voltbound Duality. Once again, creating the lightning flow doesn't matter. But the really important part is that this can be like a ping for 1 on their end step. You're gonna see we have more ways to deal arcane damage to our opponents on their turn in the sideboard. I did kill someone with this today, actually twice. Once where they passed with no cards in hand at 1 and I killed them. Another time I saw it in tandem with AED React that could poke them for 1 as well, and they just died on the spot. It's pretty cool. Blue Autumn Touch, because it blocks 3. That's really the only reason it's here. We do care about Earth cards a little bit. So it's just another way to get us some Earths in the graveyard for some decompose effects we're going to see in a moment. Blue block 3s. And then lastly, Fruits. Sometimes we struggle to convert our hands because we have a whole bunch of 1 costs, as you saw. So Fruits gives us just another thing we can do to gain value. We're okay with going long. We're okay with playing like a later game, so just being able to instant speed gain 2 life. Also, once again, Wizard, this is a card that's effectively like it's still a block 2 into Wizard, or if we have the AB3 available, it's that like it's a super versatile card. Like, there's a reason this is in every single Earth deck. Yeah, Fruits of the Forest, pretty cool. Okay, let's talk about the sideboard. Here's what I ran today, and I think I would make some changes. So I came prepared with AB3 Spell Void 1. In hindsight, I think this might have been a little bit overkill. We really don't need the Spell Void and the AB, and to be honest, I really missed having Garland. With the amount of one-cost non-attack actions we're on, sometime when our opponents would like pass the turn back to us and ask us to convert, I just had to IP a one-cost non-attack because I had no way to like play it out and also send the Nebula Blade. So I think going forward, what I would do is cut these two so that I can run Garland into everything. I'd bring in an AB headpiece along with the AB gloves and boots. And then I would probably, we'd have an extra slot then in the sideboard, would pick up an Unflinching Foothold. That's the anti-dominate card. I did play against one Azalea today, and I think he assessed the matchup a little wrong from the beginning. I think if he had kind of discerned that I was kind of going for a fatigue angle on him earlier on, he could have pivoted to really like lining up a giant dominate turn. And if my draws are awkward and I just don't have the right kind of D-reacts or the ways to like block it out and stop it, that could be game ending. So I think having Unflinching Foothold, I think also for Bravo, that's a very real deck. There was a Bravo that made second place at the Skirmish yesterday at Beyond the Board, also in Columbus. So I think that deck's very real. I think I would trim down on some of the arcane hate, keep the AB3 so I can play Garland, and then pick up the Unflinching Foothold. I'll have that updated in the Fabre list if you guys check that out after you're done with the video. So let's talk about our sideboard plan. This is what we're bringing into most everyone, is these 2 sigils and 2 rootbound. These alongside the cloud cover give us effectively 6 D-reacts. Rootbound being for 4 is actually really easy in this deck. I think there's only maybe, I think it's 10 cards when you bring in the rootbounds. But I had not really an issue getting it to decompose every time I needed it to. I was always able to find the right amount. And even, I think in a worst case, this being a D-react for 3 is fine. You can kind of play around it. You have enough block with the armor, with the Blade Beckoner set, to be able to make up for that missing 1 if it comes up. Sigil being 0 for 5 value is crazy, especially in a deck where we're trying to actually play mid-range. I kind of hate this card in like Aggro Briar. Sometimes you draw it when you have full tempo, and it just kind of like makes your turn worse. It gives them a chance to get back in. But in this deck, we're kind of always looking to block 2, send 2, so it's great. You can camp it out in Arsenal, look to cover up a big on-hit. The being able to actually like play with D-reacts in this format felt really, really good because it was very easy and clean to side these out. I didn't really get to mention it. The main board is 36 cards, and we always board up an additional 4 from the side. So against the aggro matchups, these 4 would be coming in. But aggro is not the only thing in Silver Age, so we have to have some stuff prepared for the other decks. 2 copies of Arcane Polarity. Man, look at these. Look at they're so nice. I'm so happy I got both of these. This card, of course, is coming in against Wizard. I do not bring this in against the Rune Blades. Rune Blades are all looking to push on hits. We just bring in these. I had a lot of people board this in against me, and consistently it was just like a no block trapped in their hand. Sure, I'm producing Rune Chants and they might eventually be able to resolve it, but I'm already looking to push the game late. When an aggro deck sees this against me, I'm just like, cool, we're just going to go later and later, and I think that favors me over you. So I'm really only bringing this in against the Wizards. I just never want to like not be able to block out a Snatch for like what, 10 with a potential Lightning Press. And this is a card that just says I lose the game if that happens. Into the decks that may be trying to fatigue us, where something is going late, or where I just think I need chip damage, or where like the D-reacts are just completely useless, I bring in Runeblood Incantations. Actually, into the Wizards, I was just boarding in this, and this worked really, really well. The Rune Chants are kind of obnoxious for them to deal with. They really don't want to give up 1 blue per turn on the Rune Chants. They'd rather just eat the damage, but considering they're all starting around like, what, 17, 18 life, they're already at a disadvantage, and we're chipping them away slowly but surely. We're able to AV out all their stuff. And before they realize that the Rune Chants may be presenting lethal, in the finals, I ended up setting up 2 Rune Blood Incantation, and just near the end of the game, it started eating a blue from the Wizard player's hand every single turn. Yeah, they worked out pretty well. I would also be bringing these in against like Fatigue or anything that's going to try to go super late and block us out. The one-off incidental Rune Chants are just kind of a pain in the ass to deal with. We don't stack up a whole bunch, so sometimes like you really just don't want to see all your Rune Chant stuff together. You want to see it spread out, so it's kind of inconvenient, or they're losing a value on a card by paying into it. And then our last card, and our tech also for the Fatigue-esque matchups, is Evergreen. Evergreen is a card that says if it's played from Arsenal, it goes back on the bottom of our deck once it's done resolving. The way this works is you pitch it to the bottom, or you play it and it goes to the bottom. And you have a final hand that consists of basically 2 blues, an Evergreen, or you can even just be 1 blue and an Evergreen as your last 3 cards in deck. And your whole turn cycle is just like you have an Evergreen in Arsenal, you pitch to play it, you send the Evergreen, you have your other Evergreen in hand, you Arsenal it. This goes back to the bottom of your deck with that, you draw up. You kind of have this just infinite 7 damage, and it's really easy for us to stay topped off in this deck and stay at a high life total. We pitch very, very well, and we can overpitch sometimes if we need to into Nebula Blade or our 1 costs by like pitching a red to the 1 cost and then pitching the blue for the Nebula Blade. So we can really grind late. Like I said, I didn't get to try this out. I suspect it gives us a fairly good game. I have to wonder though, in doing a deck like say like Enigma, because we just present kind of almost 1 big attack every turn, sometimes we go 2 chain links wide. And that is our goal, to eventually have a 2 chain link wide turn. I have to wonder if they're able to establish ward that we just can't deal with. I was afraid to run into an Enigma. We had 2 in Swiss today, and I ended up dodging both, and then they both unfortunately did not make top 8. So I didn't have to play the matchup. I suspect Oldhim also might be similarly tricky with the amount of like 4 blocks and stuff. But I don't know. I think these give us a fair amount of game, and our numbers are just really, really good. Eventually, we're going to start chipping through all their armor and just getting our on hits and going crazy. So that was the Nebula Blade Briar list. Undefeated today, 8-0. Had a couple of close calls, but I think I played it pretty safe and pretty conservatively, and it ended up paying off. This is the kind of deck that, like, if you're a mid-range player, I think you're going to really enjoy it. It actually reminded me a ton of CC Ira, where, yeah, we're just sending back like a 2-card 8, but on a whim, we can kind of just pivot to going like 3 wide. And then like ending on some big numbers. I think that really surprised people. I had a couple of games where I would go like Entwine, fusing the what is it? Electrin Jolt Step, send the 0 for 4 from Arsenal that gains go again, and then like pitch blue, play that, play the send Nebula Blade for 7, so it's like 4-4-7. Those are pretty strong numbers. They're very difficult to deal with, and our deck is capable of putting them out, kind of surprisingly. People were calling me Fatigue Briar. I'm not Fatigue Briar. We're mid-range Briar. We mid-range, and sometimes we fatigue by damage. Like, that will just happen, so. Let me know what you guys think of the Nebula Blade Briar list. I was really, really happy with it. Give it a try at your Skirmish. I think there's another week or 2 of Skirmish season going on, so give it a shot, see how it goes for you. I think you're fairly well positioned into like Wizards and aggro with like asterisk next to those like late game decks like Enigma or Oldhim. We'll have to see how it fares into those. But yeah, the deck felt incredible. If you guys want to see more of these like long form deck techs, I hope to do a few at like Armory events or other Skirmish events or RTNs or ProQuests or all of those kind of things. I think highlighting the local scene that I have and how like good and articulate some of the players are and the way they talk about the card game. We have some real solid players here in Columbus, and I think it'd be cool to highlight that and show that off to the greater Flesh and Blood community. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next one.